Hey YouTube, Alan back with another video, and this is going to be a video response to 8-Bit Boy UK's recent video that he did on Collector's Guide for the Master System, or something like that. I can't remember the exact title, but basically he set a challenge to myself and a few other people saying, hey, what are the 5 games that you would recommend people pick up that are basically a tenner or less to kind of get started with a physical collection for the system? He did have some good advice in general and talked about different hardware and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, exactly, you probably want the Master System 1. However, I play on the Mega Drive 1 with a Master System converter. That's another way to go. And of course, then you have a Mega Drive, you don't have to worry about having 2 different systems hooked up and all that. So there are other ways to go. There are disadvantages too with the Mega Drive converter thing, though not every game works with the Mega Drive pad, that type of stuff. So yeah. Anyway, good video, recommend checking it out. I've done my own collecting stuff in the past before. I can't remember what, they were years and years ago, probably nearly 10 years ago now. My God, time is just flying. Fundamentally, while I'm going to pick 5 games, I actually think that the best way to get started is just buy a bundle of games. Don't worry too much about the titles because there's a lot of common titles on the Master System, a lot of cheap ones that are very good, or at least worth trying out. Sometimes it's better to not know and have that little bit of discovery of, hey, what are these games, and just, plus buying a bundle is usually cheaper, especially if you're looking to try and get a few of the harder to get titles. Bundle them in with some of the common stuff. That's the best way to go. Don't target the common stuff first in solo buys. But anyway, the challenge was 5 games. So I've picked 5 games and I'm going to run through them now. First up, only picked this 2. Sonic 1 on the Master System. If you've seen my favourite Master System games, you'll know this is very high up on the list. Very, very common in Europe. Not so much in the US, but you should be able to get a European version. I personally think that this is better, and I agree with all of this, than the Mega Drive original. The Mega Drive has a lot more wow factor. This is a better platforming game. It's more consistent. Yuzo Koshiro's Ancient Corporation or company or whatever they were called, they did this. It was their first game. Brilliant. Music is brilliant. I like the graphics. Think they work well on the system. Yeah, so highly recommend you try it out. Maybe your mileage might vary in terms of do you prefer Sonic 1 to Mega Drive or not, but it's definitely worth checking out. Next up is another one that might have appeared on Ali's list. They're not all going to be there. Is the Ninja. This one, you kind of think, oh, you're playing as a ninja, all that sort of stuff. It's a very early game. It's super cheap. You can pick this up for literally a couple of pounds, and in bundles, it's almost 1 or 2 quid. You can just view this more as a shoot 'em up game, really. You're scrolling kind of by and large, vertical scrolling. You have different type of shooting moves. It looks like a ninja game, but in many ways it is basically a shooter. And there's kind of like scrolls, power-ups you can get. It's not like a bullet hell, even though it can be quite challenging. When I got this as a kid, I kind of thought, the Ninja, what a generic title, like how can that be any good? But it actually is a really good game, and is it a 1 meg? It's like the smallest mega power game here. It's definitely worth trying out. Next up is another ninja game, but this one is quite different. It's in the arcade conversion of Shinobi, a 2 meg game. It's really good. Again, I actually prefer this in many ways to the arcade original. The arcade original, 1-hit deaths. This adds a life bar, which makes it a lot more fair. A lot fairer, I should say. There's a few kind of difficulty spikes. The Mandara, whatever that boss's name is, third boss. Oh, I hate it. Even to this day, even when I've gotten past it, the odd time I hate it. The last couple of levels are very challenging as well, but it is a really good conversion. It's a great kind of platform action game, arcade conversion thing. How many derivatives I can throw in? But again, very cheap, well worth picking up, and an example of an arcade conversion done really well. Now, to kind of give it a bit of variety, this one was on Ollie's too. Jesus, it's like I've copied his list, but these are just great games. Another arcade conversion, Outrun. Now, Outrun, in terms of arcade conversion, isn't anywhere near as close to the source material as, say, Shinobi was. It's a super scaler cut down onto an 8-bit, home system. You're going to have a lot of compromises, but it still plays very well. And in terms of an 8-bit racing game, there are very few that are better than this. Maybe you might say something like Micro Machines, but you're probably not getting that for a tenner. So Outrun goes on the list. And then finally, and this one is definitely, the rest are probably pretty easy to pick up for Americans. Sonic, you know, a bit harder. This one I'm guessing is still under a tenner, but to be honest, maybe it's a little more these days. And that's Lemmings. Again, I want a bit of variety. So we have platformers, racing, kind of sort of shooting games. This one is a action puzzler. You know, Lemmings is important to like every platform under the sun. But the Master System got a really, really nice version. Plays very well with even with the controller. There's like over 100 levels, so much to do, and it's a different type of experience. It's pretty easy to find, and certainly used to be very cheap. It obviously is a European exclusive, so that makes it a little harder for US people to pick up. And I think it was like 1992, so it's not into that. It's a bit of a later release, hence the nicer artwork in my opinion, but it's not into the really late releases, which tended to have the bumped up prices, so you should still be able to pick this up pretty easily. So there we go. That's my pick of 5. If I was to pick one, gonna push the boat out one, it'd have to be Wonder Boy 3. My favorite game on the system. I've obviously done that in a video before, but it's it's well worth paying a bit more. My only kind of caveat to that is if you're going to spend that money, you may already have modern systems. So to be honest, check out the Lizard Cube remake for Switch, PS4, PS5, whatever system you have. It's a superb remake, and it's probably easier and cheaper to find now than the original is. So there's that. But that said, that might be 5 games. There's tons of other games I could have picked. Land of Illusions, Asterix, Rambo. If you like Afterburner, I guess you might like that too. That are cheap, easy to pick up. There's dozens just going through the list. Most games from Master System can be picked up still relatively cheaply. You don't have to go for the crazy like Smurfs 2 and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's a great system still to get into, even if prices have gone a bit crazy, and they're a great set of games to start off with. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.